How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and I'm going to go recap UFC 305. I know this video is late, kind of just took a bit of time off to recover from some KOs that happened on Saturday that rocked my emotion state. But yeah, let's start with the main event, of course. Dracus versus Israel Adesanya. Yeah, this fight was weird, man. It was very entertaining, which is what I assumed was going to happen. Because Dracus really, it's very hard to have a boring Dracus Duplessis fight. Israel looked solid on the feet for the most part, but there were definitely moments where Dracus's striking is so fucking weird, man. And he was able to get the grappling off, which is, if you were to pick Dracus, that was what you would have to go with. And, of course, he won via submission, which, hats off to him. And that rear naked choke is something that he's done so often. Whenever he gets the back, he immediately goes for it. It's not like he ground and pounds. He immediately goes for a rear naked choke. And Israel, in that fourth round, he kind of started to slow down and he kind of crumpled a little bit after an insane, I think it was a left hook to the temple. And I think Izzy honestly was very hurt from that, and then kind of tried to play it off, and then he slipped, and then he started getting tagged, and then it was all over from there. Yeah, I don't know who beats Dracus at middleweight, because this dude just seemingly does everything you shouldn't do on the feet, but it works. You know what I mean? He does literally everything a person shouldn't do when fighting, and it works. I don't know who beats him. After that, Izzy had very good moments on the feet. He landed some great shots. His boxing looked better than it has been in his whole entire UFC career. He still had some shaky moments in boxing range, of course, but his boxing definitely looked improved in this fight. Yeah, it's just so wild to me that this dude won the fight. I can't. You want to know a fun fact about me, guys? I have picked against Dracus Duplessis since the Brad Tavares fight. I picked him against Brad Tavares, but since then I've picked against him every time, and he's won every fucking time. So, hats off to him. They're probably going to run him versus Sean Strickland next, the rematch, which makes sense. And I don't know if Sean beats him in that fight, because I'll be honest, Dracus's grappling looked even better in this fight than it did in the Sean fight. So, yeah, great win. For Israel, I don't know what you do with him. The top five's pretty much booked. Whitaker against Shemaev, Amavov versus Allen, Jared Cannonier, Kyle Borhalo, which I'll release picks and breakdown for that later this week, of course. Vettori is injured, I think. Maybe he's coming down to fight, but he had the brawl with Brendan Allen. Paulo Costa doesn't deserve it. Jack Hermanson, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I think you have to wait Izzy out a little bit so the division can open up a bit more. But great win for Dracus. The real African. The only thing I hated about this fight is how respectful Dracus was after the fact. Because everyone knows for a goddamn fact, if Israel would have knocked out Dracus Duplessis, he would have, fucking twerked on his body, unconscious. He'd just be like, oh, yeah, he'd dance, he'd do a TikTok dance on his fucking face. But, Dracus is so nice to him afterwards, you know what I mean? You should have been more angry, but we move to the co-main event. Bro, what? Kai knocked out Steve Erceg. AI is kind of getting crazy now. One of my favorite comments I saw after this fight was that this fight isn't canon, which means that you don't even need to know about this fight. This fight never really happened in the real universe. But I'll talk about it. Kai threw a wild right overhand, left overhand combo like 5 times in the first round, and the last time he threw it, he caught Steve with his left hand, and Steve just kind of got floored by it. I honestly thought he was going to recover, because he got up he was able to get up kind of quick, but then he landed, I want to say Kai landed either it was a left or right hook, I forget, but it kind of folded Steve against the cage. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so sad. I'm so depressed. I don't, like, oh. Kai is probably going to get a title shot after that. It's deserved, you know. Well, not really deserved, but, you know, he'll get it. Well, it's also like a new fight at flyweight. I don't think Kai and Alexandre Pantoja have fought ever, if I'm not mistaken. He's like one of the only guys at the top of the division that he hasn't fought. Yeah. So probably gonna run that, unless they run Alexandre versus like Kai Asakura or Tatsuro Taira. If Kai Kara-France doesn't fight Pantoja next, which I highly doubt, I don't know what fight is next for him. For Steve Erceg, honestly, you could do Steve Erceg, Manel Kopp. I think that's probably the fight that makes the most sense in that department. It's just like, bro, like, fuck. Of all people that gets chinned like that, it's gonna be fucking Steve Erceg. It's so fucking depressing, man. He didn't fucking deserve. And the amount of that photo, oh my god, that photo is so bad. Fuck. Good win. We move to the featured prelim. Not featured prelim, the featured fight. Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. I wouldn't say it's a robbery. This was a very close fight. It was a very close fight. And I will say this. The only round that I definitively scored for anybody was round 3 to Dan Hooker. Round 1 and round 2 were very close. Round 1 was super close because outside of the knockdown at the end and the subsequent follow-up shots that Dan Hooker had, he didn't really have that much success. And Mateusz Gamrot himself dropped Dan Hooker to one knee and cut him open like 2 times. It was a very close round on damage, but most people would probably lean to Dan Hooker because his knockdown looked more effective. Round 2 was very weird because, again, it was kind of like Dan Hooker didn't really do much outside of the big elbows that he landed. Other than that, wasn't a lot done. I don't think people can cry robbery for Mateusz Gamrot because it was a close fight. If I were to score it, it would be 29-28 either way. I would have to rewatch it. I haven't rewatched it. When I first watched it, I knew they were going to give it 29-28 Dan Hooker, but in my head I was like, rounds 1 and 2 were very close, but on damage, I think, and with the grappling, because Mateusz was doing damage on the ground, you could argue that he won the rounds. I'm not going to say it was a robbery, because I think that's bullshit, but it's a fight where you can make an argument for both guys. It just really depends on how you score certain positions. Great win for Dan Hooker, top 5 again. I honestly think that you have to book him versus Charles Oliveira. I think that fight makes a whole lot of sense. Or him versus Justin Gaethje. It's one of those two. Arman should fight Islam next. I don't care about the Dustin Poirier fight. Not because it's not a good fight. It's a great fight. But Dustin Poirier only has 1 fight left in his career. He literally said it on his Instagram story. I don't want it to be Dan Hooker. I don't want it to be Dan Hooker. Okay. Mateusz Gamrot. I mean, dude, he was fighting literally everybody. Gamrot's probably going to fight, like, I don't even know. Because, like, he's so high, but, like, he's fought a lot of people. He's fought Beneil. He's fought Fiziev. He fought Arman. It's a very weird position to be in for Gamrot, but we move. Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. The worst scorecard to ever grace a UFC fight occurred when someone, it was Howie Booth, I want to say, scored this fight 30-27 to Tai Tuivasa. I want to read you off the striking numbers per round. Round 1, 9-19 in favor of Jairzinho. That's total and significant. Round 2, 13-37 or 13-36 in favor of Jairzinho Rozenstruik. 15-36, 15-36, total and significant. Jairzinho Rozenstruik literally doubled him up and more in every round, and somehow, someway, a man saw every round for Tai Tuivasa. That is the worst scorecard I've ever seen. Jairzinho schooled him the whole fight. There was only like one moment in the second round where I was kind of worried. Outside of that, Tai Tuivasa looked like dog shit, and I honestly think he should retire. I don't know who he beats at all. He has no future in the heavyweight division unless a god somehow makes him good again. He doesn't have the heart for this shit anymore. He just wants to drink beer and be famous, I guess. And we knew that going into this fight because Mr. Planet Fitness himself, he just doesn't care. He couldn't give a shit less about the UFC. So, good win for Jairzinho. I wish you could do him versus Derek Lewis, but Derek is, of course, booked. You could do Jairzinho versus, like, Marcin Tybura or Sergey Spivak. One of those two guys. Sure, why not? Tai Tuivasa, give him fucking Rodrigo Nascimento if you want. I don't give a shit. We move to the start of the main card. Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates. People were doubting Carlos Prates for some reason. I don't know why. I saw some people pick against him. If you picked Li Jingliang, I love Li Jingliang too, but you are dumb. Li Jingliang broke his back. He had an insane back injury, and they put him up against Carlos Prates after a 2-year layoff. And Carlos Prates showed why they shouldn't have done that. He knocked Li Jingliang out in a terrible fashion. He was beating his ass. I want to see what the striking numbers were, because I think Li only landed like 20 strikes. They gave him 41 strikes? Nah, I don't think so, dude. They had him out-striking Carlos in that first round. That's just incorrect. Alright, I like the Leech too, but alright, calm down. But yeah, Carlos just kind of was on point the whole time. He was rolling with a lot of shots Lee was supposedly landing. He was controlling range beautifully, and he fucked him up bad. And I think Li Jingliang, like my family that I was, they're like, he'll be back, and I'm like, no, he won't. This is it. This is probably the last time we're gonna see him fight for another long time, because that's a terrible finish to have. Carlos Prates called out Chaos Williams. If you guys have been watching me, you know I like Chaos Williams. I love that fight. I think that Carlos would probably beat Chaos, even though I'm a huge fan of Chaos Williams. I'm a realist. But yeah, that'd be a very fun fight. Carlos is an animal. Again, the fighting nerds have fucking plot armor, and they're never going to lose. They'll all dominate their respective divisions somehow. I don't know. We move to the featured prelim. Junior Tafa versus Walter Walker. Now, this one had some controversy behind it because it was a verbal tap, because Junior Tafa didn't technically tap, but he yelled out in pain because Walter was going for like a rolling leg lock, I want to say. Was it an ankle lock? Whatever it was. Highly impressive for a heavyweight to do that. But Walter, in this fight, on the feet, again, looked like absolute dog shit. But when it got to the ground, Junior Tafa did the traditional Tafa shit, where he's just like, Tafa gang, brother. I'll get up and fuck you up at the end of the round. I'll fuck you up on the feet when the next round starts. But the thing is that if the fight would have gone on, Walter would have just taken him down, and it would have been the same thing over and over again. Because Junior Tafa and Justin Tafa aren't that good at fighting. There, I said it. Walter, when he got him on the ground, did some damage, controlled him a shit ton, and then he rolled for a leg lock and got it. Junior Tafa smacked Walter Walker after the fact, which is like You couldn't have done that on the ground. You couldn't have done it. You had 4 minutes and 55 seconds to do something. You couldn't get up. Stop being a pussy. But yeah, that's a big guy to have on you, Walter. Give him fucking some other fat fuck. Junior Tafa cut down to 205. There's no reason you should be fighting at heavyweight. I'm telling you, cut down to 205. You will have much more success down there, because I'm telling you, no fat fuck is going to hold you down that weight class. You have strong hips, just go down a weight class to where there's less strong people. There you go. There's some career advice. We move to Josh Kulabau versus Ricardo Ramos. This fight shocked me because, you know, I didn't think I would see less fight IQ than when Jalen Turner tried to walk off KO Renato Moicano. But we did in this fight because Josh Kulabau, get this. I'm going to set the scene for you guys. He leg kick knocks down Ricardo Ramos in round 2. Right? Right. What should you do, because he lands like another 5 leg kicks when he's on the ground. What should you do when you hurt your opponent's leg and you're beating them on the stand-up? I'll give you 3 options. One of these he did do, by the way. A, walk away. Make the ref make him stand up. B, keep throwing leg kicks. Or just jump in his full guard. C, jump around him and let him recover for 1 minute and 30 seconds and then get in his full guard. Which of those do you think Josh Kulabau did? Josh Kulabau threw away this fight. He lost the first round, and he almost finished Ricardo in the second round, but he decided to just throw away the fight. And let me check the striking numbers, because round 3 was close. It was a very close round. You could argue it for Josh Kulabau, but Ricardo did land some shots, and he did get a takedown, and I think he did get the back of Josh Kulabau. Very close fight. Probably should have gone to Josh Kulabau, but for that bullshit he pulled in round 2, you kind of deserve it. We move to Casey O'Neill versus Luana Santos. Luana Santos looked like she took this fight under short notice because she did. She kind of just couldn't find a rhythm. Casey O'Neill kind of beat her up a little bit. It is what it is. Luana will be back. Casey O'Neill proves that she is still somewhat good. Her stand-up looked better than it has in ages. Maybe it's because she took some time off. I think it was like, 296 when she fought Ariane De Silva. But, yeah, good win for Casey O'Neill. Mad respect. And she even defended a lot of the takedowns Luana Santos had for her. And she got in some bad moments. I think Luana was attacking like a standing rear, not standing rear naked, a standing guillotine in like the first round. And Casey was able to calm her way out of that. So good for her. Good win. We move to Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns. Excuse me. Herbert Burns made it to the 3rd round with Jack Jenkins. And honestly, I didn't like that very much. Herbert Burns is a quitter. Again, he quit. There's no other way about it. He quit. He is nothing like his brother. He never will be anything like his brother. And honestly, they should cut him from the promotion. Good win for Jack Jenkins. The leg kick, well, not even leg kicks. The boxing was on point. And after round 1, the takedown defense looked pretty solid. So, good shit for him. Much respect. And, yeah, I want to see Jack Jenkins fight again. I want to see him come back near the end of the year. Please. A Jack Jenkins fight is an awesome fight. Herbert Burns, get him out of the fucking promotion. We move to the featured early prelim, Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. Alex Reyes made it to the end of the fight somehow. I don't know if that's good, because I thought Tom Nolan was going to spark him out in the first. I didn't really like it that much. Very fun fight, actually. Alex Reyes kind of stood on business a little bit in this fight, but he clearly got outstruck a shit ton. And Tom Nolan really looked pretty solid. He was landing a bunch of shots on the feet. He landed a shit ton of stuff. He rocked Alex Reyes pretty bad a couple of times. I'm pretty sure he knocked him down in one of the rounds. They didn't credit him with a knockdown, even though, okay. What do you got to do to get a fucking knockdown in the UFC nowadays? But Tom Nolan kind of beat him from pillar to post. Alex Reyes did have some moments in the pocket, but it was mostly Tom Nolan kind of piecing him up on the feet. But, yeah, good stuff. We move. Song Kanan versus Ricky Glenn. Song Kanan beat him. Ricky Glenn looked like utter dog shit. I don't know how he's still fighting. He looked geriatric and old. Song Kanan didn't look that much better either. He looked like age touched him a little bit in this fight. He looked slower than usual. He looked tired than usual. More tired than usual, sorry. Just didn't look all like himself. He was having some moments on like he got dropped, I want to say, in the first round. Or he didn't get dropped. He got hit with a very big left overhand into a takedown. But besides that, Ricky Glenn had little to no success. It was kind of bad. And it seemed like whenever Song would land flush, his legs would be like, ugh. And also, Ricky Glenn had one of the worst hematomas I've ever seen in my fucking life. It was gross. But yeah, we move to the first fight of the night. Stuart Nickel versus Jesus Aguilar. Cool fight for as long as it lasted. Stuart Nickel was controlling the fight whenever it was on the ground in the first round. But then Stuart Nickel made a mistake. He tried to jump on the back of Jesus, and he kind of flung over the top. And then when he tried to go for another blast double leg, Jesus Aguilar just wrapped up a guillotine and choked him out. Not the way I thought the fight would end if Jesus won. I thought he would have more of a chance on like the feet with like his punching power. But I think I mentioned, or if I forgot to mention, Jesus Aguilar has a bunch of submission wins on his record. That was, I think, his 7th or 6th. So submissions are a part of his thing, and he actually got into the UFC off of Dana White's Contender Series with a guillotine. So cool for him. Another undefeated prospect down the fucking hatch, Stuart Nickel. Fucking beat it, dude. I don't know. Jesus Aguilar threw 5 punches. Cool for this. This was a cool fight for as long as it lasted. Good win, Jesus Aguilar. UFC 305. The prelims were a little rough. The main card was very entertaining. We got to see. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired. We got to see the Leech legit die. Tai Tuivasa got beat up and should retire. Dan Hooker, Mateusz Gamrot was a very fun fight. I wasn't expecting it to be that fun, honestly. But Dan Hooker beat him. Very close fight. I don't think you can call it a robbery either way. Kai Car-France sleeps Steve Erceg. Fucking Christ. DDP beat Israel Adesanya in a very entertaining showcase. It was very good. Very good win for DDP. I don't know who beats him anymore because it seems like everyone is outclassing him, and then they get so tired that they go down to his skill level. It's nuts. It's so nuts. He literally just outmans everybody. He has the indomitable human spirit. Nothing will stop this man. It seems like he's just like, all right, I'm winning. It's like, he's like, oh shit, I'm down 20-7 on striking numbers. Let me just throw some He-Man haymakers, Captain Underpants style, and just absolutely fucking barrage this dude. But yeah, that's my recap. I'll try and get 2 videos out for you guys. I'll have a fight. I'll have a video talking about the 307 announcement, all the fights for that. I'll have a video talking about Dana White's Contender Series. It's happening this week. It probably won't get that many views, but fuck it. And then, of course, you guys already know, UFC Vegas 96, Cannon or Borhalo, picks and breakdown. I'll have that up for you guys. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.